was the Brahmastra weapon. It was a type of nuclear weapon, but it wasn't like current nuclear weapons that would just destroy everything within a certain radius. These weapons, in combination with mantra, could be directed at one living entity and only kill that one living entity. This is why Ashwatthama sent the Brahmastra specifically for Maharaj Parikshit to wipe out the last of the Pandava dynasty, because they had, this is the epic of the Mahabharata, that this is the story of the Pandus fighting with the Kauravas and for the righteous rule over planet Earth. So the Pandavas were the righteous kings, and they had the righteous claim to the throne to make a society and a world that was full of peace and prosperity. And the Kauravas were trying to use the planet Earth for their own sense gratification, as we now see the modern so-called kings doing. So the Mahabharata, of which the Bhagavad Gita is the most famous part, basically the Bhagavad Gita is considered to be kind of the Bible of the Hindus, but it's more than that. It's the actual history of ancient India and ancient mankind. So, again, the Brahmastra weapon is mentioned here, and this is fascinating in the sense that this story goes back to World War II and to Nazi Germany. You see, at the time, the Nazis, they had the only scholars that could understand the ancient Sanskrit texts, and they were very much obsessed with occult or ancient knowledge. And because in many, many different ancient knowledge, there spoke of great weapons, and vimanas, for example, are mentioned in the Mahabharata, or flying machines that could shoot out rockets and stuff. So the Nazis, because of their occult roots, they had the Fool Society and the originators of the Nazi movement were very much fascinated from the very beginning with occult knowledge, hidden knowledge, ancient weaponry, ancient ways of running societies and different things. But of course, these things, because of the influence of the age of Kali, became perverted. Let's say, for example, the whole concept of the Aryan is actually coming from the Vedic literature. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, when Arjuna does not want to fight for the righteous cause, Krishna asks him, well, what kind of Aryan are you? But, see, in the context of the Vedic literature, Aryan does not mean coming from a specific bloodline. What it means is those people that are spiritually advanced, and that can be anyone of any color, any race, any creed, anywhere across the surface of the earth, can be an Aryan in the sense that they take to a spiritual discipline and they advance on the path of enlightenment. Whereas the Nazi perversion of that concept, they took it to mean about a specific bloodline or a specific type of person in a specific place. So here again we have ancient knowledge, rather than being used to uplift people, being used to denigrate people and to bring human society down. But the Nazis were the only people who had the proper Indo-ologists that could understand the Sanskrit verses and stuff. And rather than focusing on the Vedic paradigm of spiritual enlightenment, brotherhood of all mankind, of the upliftment of everyone, rather they focused on the weaponry and the ancient technologies. So this is where they got the idea of nuclear weapons, why they were so advanced in that discipline. It's because it's coming from ancient knowledge that they were the only ones at the time could read those books besides people in India. But they were scouring all of India, Tibet, Egypt, and other places with ancient knowledge and ancient technologies on how to create, really destructive weapons. Also, the Vimana, that is where they got the idea for jet-propelled flying machines. And also they took other ideas of the Vedas which they used against mankind, such as the use of images and music and ideology to control the masses. This is why they became so advanced in, I don't know if you've ever seen those great gatherings that they used to have, and all the symbols and all the signs and all the music and all the way everything worked in harmony. That was to control the mind of the people. So this is important to know, because at the end of World War II, what happened was America, through Operation Paperclip, and also the Soviets, they divided up all the great Nazi scientists, thinkers, mind control experts, people who had been doing genetic experimentation, and half of them basically came to the United States, and the other half went to the Soviet Union. We're all familiar with how the Nazi scientists came to America and they perfected the nuclear bomb here, which we later on used against Japan. Also, a Nazi war criminal who used slave labor to create the V-2 rocket, Werner von Braun, he also came to America, and he headed up NASA, our whole NASA, like Nazi. He headed up our whole space program and the whole idea of using rockets to master space, to discover ancient worlds. Also, what's less known is that also the techniques of mind control, using the media, using music, those experts also came to America. And basically, our entire government, from top to bottom, including the OSS, which was later became the CIA, from top to bottom became infiltrated with every type of Nazi, and their agenda basically became the American agenda. The conquering of space, uber, super weaponry, mind control of the masses, and not for their benefit, but to keep them in a slave-like condition to do the bidding of the elite. So this is important to understand, that the world we live in right now, coming through the Nazi line, is basically a severe perversion of the Vedas. So this is why Bhaktivedanta Swami coming and giving us the Vedic knowledge, he has given us the fire to fight with fire. That we can understand the same knowledge, but only use it for the good, for the benefit of humanity, not for weaponry, not for killing, not to keep people enslaved and their minds manipulated in a degraded state so that basically we become drone workers, but for the upliftment of all mankind. So you see, this is very important right now, and that we have to understand that. And also, we take a look at the Nazis, their main symbol, the swastika. This was not only an important symbol throughout many cultures of the ancient past, but we could basically say that this is the main Vedic symbol, was the swastika. So the Nazis are basically telling you that all the knowledge that they're getting and using against mankind are coming from the Vedas and coming from ancient knowledge. And the symbol of the swastika proves that this is the main Vedic symbol. But again, it's used in a perverted way to keep people deluded, to keep people unconscious, whereas the whole Vedic paradigm was to uplift people, and they were only interested in the weaponry, the mind control technologies, and how they could keep people as basically warriors and willing to die for the state and to serve the upper elite. That's why, and you see this with many ancient symbols that are used for the upliftment of mankind, such as the pyramid, the swastika, other ancient symbols. Nowadays, they're used for the degradation and for the opposite purpose as what they were meant for. They're used now to sell products or to indicate a type of control system. So we have plenty of proof that through the Nazi line that the Vedic knowledge of yore is being used for its not for its original purpose, but for a perverted purpose of controlling and manipulating mankind into a degraded state to create mass weaponry that is meant to basically destroy the earth. So this is important that we start to understand the true meaning of the Vedic knowledge, and in this way free our minds and liberate ourselves to a higher purpose and a higher cause using this knowledge rather than being manipulated by it. Because also in the Vedic literatures there's many things described about how music and sound vibration and images can be used for the upliftment of mankind. But in a kind of a reverse engineering scenario, the ruling class and the elitists of the world have sequestered that knowledge and are using those same information in a reverse engineered fashion against mankind. So it's really important right now to understand what's going on with Vedic literature. I'm going to go ahead and keep reading. Text 18. O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings. Now this is the bull of religion speaking, or the bull of Dharma. Because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. Purport. There are many theoretical philosophers in the world who put forward their own theories of cause and effect, especially about the cause of suffering and its effect on different living beings. Generally, there are 6 great philosophers: Kanada, the author of Vaisheshika philosophy; Gautama, the author of logic; Patanjali, the author of mystic yoga; Kapila, the author of Sankhya philosophy; Jaimini, the author of Karma Mimamsa; and Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Darshana. Although the bull, or the personality of religion, and the cow, the personality of the earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their suffering, still, as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. According to the Padma Purana, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. But even those seedling sins also gradually fade away by the execution of pure devotional service. Thus, even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings, thinking them to be God-given in small doses, for otherwise the suffering should have been greater. Maharaj Pariksit wanted to get a statement of accusation against the direct mischief monger, but they declined to give it on the above-mentioned grounds. Speculative philosophers, however, do not recognize the sanction of the Lord, and they try to find out the cause of sufferings in their own way, as will be described in the following verses. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, such speculators are themselves bewildered, and thus they cannot know that the ultimate cause of all causes is the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. One thing I want to make clear about this verse is that this, not identifying the mischief monger, relates to ourselves and when we're wronged in some way or when we're hurt in some way. But that does not extend to if we see the people within the society who need our help, such as women, children, the elderly, the disabled, etc. If we see them being exploited, we have full right to identify the people who are harming others. So this kind of state of humbleness can be in regard to our own personal life or the own personal sufferings or tribulations that we have to undergo. But it is in no way a justification to turn a blind eye to the sufferings of others who are being exploited by manipulation of human consciousness. We have every full right to speak out against that. So I just want to make sure that people don't get the wrong idea there, that this is some kind of idea that we should just lay down and take suffering. For our own selves, we may be philosophical about the sufferings inflicted upon us, but when it comes to the others who need our help, then that is the time to take action. When we see the weaker sections of the society or people who cannot defend themselves or categories of people that need our help, then that is the time to swing into action, and there is no excuse for not helping them. Okay, text 19. Translation. Some of the philosophers who deny all sorts of duality declare that one's own self is responsible for his personal happiness and distress. Others say that his superhuman powers are responsible, while yet others say that activity is responsible, and the gross materialists maintain that nature is the ultimate cause. Purport. As referred to above, philosophers like Jaimini and his followers established that fruitive activity is the root cause of all distress and happiness, and that even if there is a superior authority, some superhuman powerful god or gods, he or they are also under the influence of fruitive activity because their reward result according to one's action. They say that action is not independent because action is performed by some performer. Therefore, the performer himself is the cause of his own happiness or distress. In the Bhagavad Gita 6.5, also it is confirmed that by one's mind, freed from material affection, one can deliver himself from the sufferings of material pangs. So, one should not entangle oneself in matter by the mind's material affections. Thus, one's own mind is one's friend or enemy in one's material happiness and distress. Atheistic, materialistic Sankhites conclude that the material nature is the cause of all causes. According to them, combinations of material elements are the causes of material happiness and distress, and disintegration of matter is the cause of freedom from all material pangs. Gautama and Kanada find that the atomic combination is the cause of everything, and impersonalists like Ashtavarkara discovered that the spiritual effulgence of Brahman is the cause of all causes. But in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself declares that he is the source of impersonal Brahman, And therefore he, the personality of Godhead, is the ultimate cause of all causes.